Mic check 1, 2. Jim.
GM Golden Cross, how you doing this morning?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing well. I survived the Argentina mess.
Okay, me too. I slept through that thing. Seems to be the best play. We just gotta sleep through some of this stuff and get at least breaking even.
Yeah, Coder Dan, that gif exactly. You just gotta sit back and watch the mayhem.
Seriously. That is what a shit show it is out there. It's crazy.
Yeah, hopefully this pushes us
Oh, there we
towards
go.
like
Sorry, I wasn't
actual
on
stuff being
stage
built.
there. Hey guys, GM.
Jim.
Yeah,
What
maybe
was that?
this is this the end of meme season? We'll see.
Gotta be. How many times can we hit ourselves in the head and just keep repeating? It's insanity. Modi token. Oh man, that one. That one
I
would.
mean, he was doing the press conference. I was like, I don't know. Maybe he's gonna drop a token. Why not? At this point, like,
Right. And then it feels like with this Argentina thing, it feels like the CZ's dog was like a month ago. It feels like I can't even. Maybe it's still going, but had more legs than Argentina. But I avoided that too. I'm like, I'm not bridging to B&B to play the same
yeah.
game as
What was
Solana.
the market cap of what was it called? Broccoli or something? What did that get to?
I'm
Yeah, I
not
didn't
sure.
even
Somebody help us out. The one I saw trending on CoinGecko, I think 12 hours ago, was just called CZ's dog, which is probably
Yeah.
the smarter play because people don't know what the hell broccoli is.
Right.
So there are a lot of them. Like I saw CZ saying, he's not endorsing one. We'll just see which broccoli wins out, I guess.
Really? So wait, he didn't even launch it, right? Like
I
he
guess not.
he told people what the name was and just let the community do it. What a shitty way to
Yeah,
launch a token.
he was like, may the best shitty
Good
meme
God.
win. It's like he wants to be hands off, but it just leads to chaos. So, what do you got there? No future. This cartoon looks.
So this is
Yeah, he
Bold
got punched.
Leonidas, and he or she, I think it's a he, made this, and he kind of explained it. He's like, you see that the bubbles going over to Binance Smart Chain for the whole broccoli thing has a bag full of money. It comes back. If you're looking at the grass, it's greener on the Binance side than
Right.
the Sol side. When it comes back, the bubble is smaller, less money in the bag, and it looks like it got beat up a bit. So I was like, I like this. We need Soju doing more stuff like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw Soju tweeting out a happy Valentine's to everyone. Hope everybody had a good Valentine's week and a good Valentine's weekend. And yeah, I think it was last week this time on the call, we were enjoying the launch of the Valentine skins for Guardians. So see more and more people rocking those. We do have a reckless dog, don't we? I mean, we do, but I'm looking for the emoji right now. But see if I hooked us up with that. There he is. Hold on, I got it. I'm going to reply to T-Bird talking about naming that dog Ghost. That would have been excellent. There he is.
Did we? I didn't realize we had that one. Oh, nice. Doggo.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Such a good one.
I'm glad to say that I finally this week play like every one of my streams I played Reckless, and I finally got past the first boss multiple times. So I actually got to see the dog. I never got to see the dog previously, other than Zbot showing it to me in Miami, until I actually beat the level. So now I'm in the second level, which is even harder because it's random every time I played it so far. So now I have to get better at playing in general.
That's cool. Yeah, still, it's the replayability is decent on it. Prize pool aside, and there's like 4 more levels in the pipeline coming. The Alchemica themed levels. So
Yep.
got to get those pushed out here pretty soon. Bud, FOMO, Alpha, Kick. Usually we'd save it for the Dow hour, but as people funnel in here, stick around. I think we'll definitely flesh out. You had a big proposal this week. You headed down, and actually a lot of the
Yep.
Pixelcraft team participated in helping you get not a lot, but we all tried to help contribute where we could. So very, very much supporting what you got there. But
Yeah,
yeah,
before we
people
get into
must be
that, I was
curious.
gonna ask, since no futures here, you were talking about this proposal with Yaps and Kaido. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? I thought
Yeah.
that was like interesting because I know Yaps and Kaido, they just announced their TGE.
Yeah, so with Kaido, I know some people in the crowd aren't going to like it because it is kind of like it's annoying if you're on the timeline and it's all yap 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 and Kaido related. But basically, Kaido, like their protocol, they're pushing it instead of it being social-fi, they're calling it info-fi, and they have various projects that are launching via Kaido where you earn yaps by discussing or tweeting about the different projects. So, like a good example would be Barachain. If you were talking about Barachain before it launched, even though they didn't tell you it was incentivized, you got part of the airdrop for the Bara token. And some of these people got like $10,000 worth of the airdrop token, which led to them then posting a lot about Barachain because they're like, oh man, this is like, I got this huge airdrop. Yeah, I did hate them at first. I still do, man. Bear chain, the bear chain. Anyway, so like a good example was this week, like Story Protocol, Story, the IP token dropped. I got an allocation of 200. I've never even spoken about Story. We ended up speaking about it on the space for almost an hour, just talking about like the Kaido TGE that's coming up. So there are a bunch of projects that are entering um on their leaderboard as either pre TGE or post TGE, and it appears that a lot of the pre TGE tokens are basically rewarding yappers, anybody that's yapping and in the Kaido system, for basically being indirect marketing for these projects. Like you get access to all of these KOLs who will yap about your project because they see it on the leaderboard, but you don't have to actually sign deals with them. So you like take a lot of the downside risk of like being associated with some of these like spicier KOLs out of it. So it's an indirect marketing. And they do have a post TGE section. I know that Say is on it. I don't know anything specific, but I have friends at Polygon who I've been like, yo, why isn't Polygon doing this? And they've kind of hinted that they're going to be doing something. So it seems like a lot of projects are moving towards that because beyond just, the yapping to earn yaps, which yaps will then eventually turn to a Kaido token. So there's a TGE involved. Your yaps are used as part of I want to call it decentralized governance, but it's not exactly that, where you can use your yaps to vote on which projects get on the leaderboard. So I'm thinking some projects are straight up just paying to be on the leaderboard. Others are going through this voting process. And then there's a whole thing in the background where projects are bribing people to vote for them, like the bigger KOLs.
Yeah.
So it's like a whole thing. But my idea was, if we like, it was when we were talking about like previously to me reading the full blog post and using Gotchi, but Ghost could work this way too, is if we were to reward or airdrop to yappers Ghost and then make a post saying, hey, we have a claim going forward. If you were using Kaido, we have a tiered list for people talking about it, and airdrop it. We can get them probably to talk about it. If we partnered as the DAO/PC with Kaido to join the platform, that could work as well. But even if we don't join, we could put aside some ghosts towards incentivizing yappers via some sort of airdrop. So if we were using Gotchi token, it would be a lot easier because it's pre-TGE. But since that's going to kind of be rolled into Ghost, it kind of complicates things a little bit. But, it's just an idea I floated out. I figured no one read it because no one really responded.
So I'm looking at, I just logged in my Kaido. It's been a couple weeks. Looks like I got 94 yaps. Is that good or is that pretty mid?
That's decent. There was a post that I put out yesterday. It's straight moon math, but they're saying that each yap will convert to a Kaido, and that if at a $1 billion valuation, based on the fact that there will be, if it's launched in the next couple months, something like 3 million Kaido or yaps out there, that would be like $100, $130 a yap. So I think yesterday.
Wow, I'm number 20 on the leaderboard.
Yeah, some of your posts, if you're mentioning anything of value, or you have a lot of smart followers, like I'm considered
Yeah.
inner circle CT, and I'm sure you are because you've been on Twitter for at least
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
5-6 years. You're gonna People earn yaps from interacting with you. So the more they reply to you, the more yaps. So yesterday I put this Kaido, like I was engagement farming, saying that it's moon math, and I put a post up. I earned like 6 or 7 yaps, which is by far my best day. And I haven't really been posting or yapping too much, but I'm at like 67, 68 yaps. There are other people that are, obviously in the thousands, almost close to 10,000, but it's an interesting kind of thing. I do agree with what like Piglet's saying. It is kind of annoying because everybody's pivoted towards Kaido. There's this reply for reply meta, and then there are Kaido groups forming where people are just like, oh, we're all Kaido. Like if you're inner circle CT, we'll follow you. But for me, I've gained like 100 followers because people are realizing that I'm inner circle CT.
So what position am I in? I have I got 94 yaps, but there's a dash next to my name. But I feel like I don't know what it says. I have 94 yaps. I don't know. Sounds like I'm right above Beanie,
We'll see.
but
Those
then
are
it says 1 yap, so I don't know.
yeah. So for Beanie, he has 94 yaps for the last 24 hours.
Okay, this is last 24 hours, not
Yeah.
got it.
So you're probably,
Yeah, I'm like,
if you
I'm
go
not
to the
doing
emerging yapper list, because these are the top
right.
yappers. If you go to the emerging yapper list, you probably will rank higher there, because I think I was closer to actually placing. But yesterday with my 6 yaps, I think to be in the top 500 on the day, you needed 12 yaps. So it's like I'm slowly kind of gaining traction there.
Cool.
Yeah, and then there's a Yap leaderboard per project. So like if you look at Barachain, or some of the new ones that are up there like Quai, or I think that's how you say QUAI. There's one for Monad. If you go there, you can see there's a separate leaderboard based on people mind share. So like even the Say ecosystem, I'm a content creator over there. They've like their team is like trying to push us to be more on those leaderboards, because they're actively like helping people get jobs within the ecosystem, because they can say, hey, this guy is like number 2, number 1 on our leaderboard for yaps. So it's all a very interesting system.
There's not that many post TGE community leaderboards. And does it have to be a token? Like they don't have other like ecosystems that are not that don't have tokens, I guess.
So far, it seems like it's only tokens, but I've seen,
Yeah.
I think the value here is like you don't necessarily have to be on these leaderboards to take advantage of the hype. Like to be able to say, hey, we looked at, because I think there's also beyond the leaderboards being, I think, just projects, I think there's segment leaderboards. I have to look into that because I haven't looked at it to see that deeply. But if there's like a GameFi segment leaderboard, you could reward the top people talking about GameFi, and then kind of like insert yourself, because it's ways to informally get, like, I don't want to call it deals, but sort of like with these big KOLs without actually having to sign a deal with them and have that association.
So they're actually saying it's significantly cheaper to get a lot of the timeline talking about something. This is a lot of the. I saw some of the projects that were doing their TGEs were like kind of. I think IP did this. It sounded like they screwed over a lot of their core community and just gave out a bunch of tokens to the yappers. I saw a bunch of people being like, I like, I think Barra too, right? Like they were like, I was on the test net for 2 years and I didn't get anything, and these yappers got everything.
You're gonna get
But how do
like
we?
Piglet inflamed if you bring that up.
But yeah, how do we? So how do we get a lot of the timeline to talk about our upcoming games and move to base?
Yeah, it's a good question. It depends. Like when I was thinking it was just gotchi, it became an easy like, oh, we just like basically say we're going to airdrop top yappers gotchi. we could
Right.
aim to be on the leaderboard, but I don't know the mechanisms of how that happens. Do we have to go through that decentralized voting thing? Because even getting onto the voting for the pre-TG, not pre-TG, but the leaderboard, I think is a good marketing thing because everybody that's like basically influential or trying to be influential in crypto Twitter is checking those things out because they vote. We don't necessarily need to bribe anybody, but just even being on that could get us some hype in that sense. If we did have
How do we get on that?
that, I don't know. I think we have to reach out to that team and kind of figure out a bit more. If we don't go through Kaido, like to get on the voting for the leaderboard or get direct, because I'm assuming that you're gonna have to pay them to get on the leaderboards because there are big protocols like Story that didn't go through the voting process. Mega ETH went through the voting process. There's been two other protocols that actually got voted onto Kaido. But I imagine this is why I'm kind of bullish on Kaido. And this is not financial advice or anything like that, but they actually have a revenue model if people are paying to get you to use their information and get access to those KOLs. So there's something backing their token eventually. So it makes me feel more like I'm more hyped about that than the 200 Story I got, which I did literally absolutely nothing. And at current prices, it's like I think at its high it was like $420. I didn't sell it because I've been bagging on all the Barachain homies who got my tokens instead of me doing it for getting it for testnet. So if I would have dumped, then it's like I'm no better than the people I criticized for getting. Because with the KOLs for Barachain, some of them were getting $10,000 worth of Bara tokens, and they did nothing, and it pissed me off. So it's like, all right, let me not be a hypocrite.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna hold this.
I was like surprised. Bara has been the vibe for them was so good, and then post TGE, so everyone was like, I don't know. I think they screwed some things up with that.
Yeah,
too many yappers.
I agree with Light Piglet. Like, we don't want to stroke the KOLs, but let's be honest. Like, we have we don't really try these kinds of marketing things, and they do work. And if we could do it low cost, by either like airdropping, if it was gotchi, it'd be easier. But airdropping and incentivizing, I don't see why it's like horrible to try it because we've the other stuff we've done hasn't really worked. So it's good to think outside the box. And and this isn't necessarily outside the box. It's outside the box for us, for this protocol, where everybody else is like kind of jumping on it. So yeah, I know I just said that like Piglet.
It's like flavor of the month kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's cool while everyone's doing it. And then kind of like Friend Tech and the Arena and those different social fies. Well, cool. Thanks for the overview of that.
Yeah. Also, Cryptogotchi, I don't think they're necessarily
Kaido is a cool
dev
platform.
to it because
I like the platform itself.
Yeah. I just Cryptogotchi, I don't think they're necessarily deaf to it because now their followers are trying to interact with the post and talk about it because they're earning yaps because it's an active TGE.
Yeah, now that they've announced their own TGE, it's just going to get even louder out there, and like more noise, less signal than it already was. Cool. Well, we can talk about the I'm sure we'll talk about during the DAO hour, but we can go over to talk about the migration, talk about or the proposal to the migration, can talk about some other things. Jesse, you had one thing you wanted to bring up, which is so people kind of have a little more idea about the full strategy coming, like what we're actually working on and some of our goals for this year in terms of Gotcha Guardians.
Oh, for Guardians, yeah, definitely. I don't know if you guys remember, if you were on a DAO call about a month ago, there was the introduction to a team called Andromeda, and they're a publisher for video games, and they came. I don't think there was any follow through or on their side or the DAO side. I don't think it went anywhere. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they were looking to raise, and so they are a startup, but they also are super connected, and they're really, really serious in a lot of respects. So I've gotten to know them a little better since before that call and a lot more since after it. And I think we're going to work with them on Guardians, and they're going to help Guardians get to a much larger market. and handle that kind of marketing distribution side for us. So yeah, we're reviewing, so like we're pretty far into negotiations with them, but we'll be one of a very short list of games that they're going to publish this year. And so they have one first party game of their own. And really now the focus is just making sure Guardians is like the very next game that they put all their energy into. And then anything else they want to publish should be after Guardians. So that would set us up for getting Guardians published on like traditional gaming platforms by, we're talking about like June. So that's what we're shooting for right now. And that could be absolutely huge because I think it's something that we've identified. Like we can build Guardians and it's a good game. It's a really good game. It just needs wider distribution and it needs partners to do it right and to do it at scale. So they're one of maybe many publishers we'll be searching for and working with. We're doing outreach on that front. We'll be at GDC on the ground, trying to find the right partners to go to other markets, other regions of the world. Some publishers work regionally, some work on specific platforms, some a little bit of both of those. So I think that's the strategy with Guardians. And so let's say Guardians gets on a major platform or two and has the marketing budget behind it where it actually reaches an audience and we believe it will perform and be sticky and monetize. Not only that, but people will discover Aavegotchi through that game. And so it kind of ties into this whole, like, we've got to go to base or somewhere and other than Geist and put our game and our IP in front of an established audience like base. And so not only will we have the Coinbase funnel now that Ghost has direct withdrawals from Coinbase, which is something we were working on for a long time that just got announced last week. But then this second funnel would be, say, Andromeda, the audience that they bring to Guardians. Then they go and say, oh, there's like a play to earn aspect to this Aavegotchi, like over here with their other game. So I've been doing tower defense with the Licks. I've gotten to know the IP. And okay, now I'm on their website and they're talking about I can earn some Ghost tokens by playing GBS. So that's kind of like the holistic view. Is like best case, you have a large traditional gamer player base over there. Also some big splash news that's just great for the brand in general and raising awareness, and a great success story there. And then you also have Coinbase with their whole push to bring Coinbase users onto base. And that's always been what we wanted to do with base. But we realized it was like, we didn't have the bandwidth to pursue that strategy properly and get it all the way to Geist. Like they weren't going to do withdrawals directly from Coinbase to Geist. And that was early on floated as something they're open to, but it became more and more real, like more and more clear that that's not something that's going to happen on any timeline we're comfortable with. So it's like, well, we were pretty cozy, right? Like things worked really well. We had one concentrated home on Polygon. The issue is Polygon just it's not where I think it's not the place we want to stay. But we also like the L3 strategy is just too much too soon right now. And so yeah, it's like based on the strategy I just outlined, it's like base is kind of the obvious home base for us. Not to say we couldn't have some multi-chain aspect in the future, but and Dan, you wrote it all out for those that maybe haven't read it or skimmed through it. I mean, it's a hard migration, which is better than it sounds. That means like we don't have to have the hassle of everybody manually porting everything over like we would have with Geist, where everybody's manually bridging asset by asset. So I'm excited for it for a lot of reasons, but yeah.
Yeah, if you haven't read the article yet, has anyone here not read this? I mean, it's a little bit long, but it definitely goes through all the reasons and some statistics. Just looking at the biggest picture we can here, trying to make decisions. I mean, there's so much fog of war in this industry. Like literally, you can make a decision and then new tech comes out and suddenly that decision is kind of invalidated. Not really what happened in this situation, but it's more of I think it's more of a situation where the decision is think it was still correct. Like we made the decision with Geist back in. You guys know we've been looking at L3s forever, but we really made the decision back in like April last year, and I still think that it was it is a good decision to make to have our own block space, but it's just too early, and the tech is not there to facilitate this kind of onboarding that we want to have. And meanwhile, just things are consolidating on Base. Base is getting stronger. It's not going anywhere. Coinbase making record profits. They're funneling that money back into the Base technology and ecosystem. And yeah, it's just everything is popping off over there. And it seems like it'll keep doing that for at least this cycle. Who knows what will happen by 2028? But we want to have a home somewhere that we're happy with.
Yeah, somewhere that's stable, just a good foundation for everybody, like what Polygon used to be for us. And I like what Tonya said, the old keep it simple, stupid, the KISS method. So we definitely need some simplification, and whether it's the ecosystem and the variety of assets we have, and just having to like manually migrate all of that over via different bridges, it's pretty messy, and it's tough for you guys as a community. Like, you guys have to pay that. With this migration, it's more of a clone deployment, right, Dan? So it's like your everything from your Aavegotchi to your fake Gotchi is going to just be boom, existing on Base, assuming this DAO supports this. That's kind of what it would look like. And you don't get any sort of watering down of your assets, because the Polygon ones would also be upgraded to just be frozen. So, so it's like kind of clean.
I mentally explored the idea of like, what if we literally just deployed a second version of Aavegotchi? That'd be really cool. Why not a third or a fourth? But NFTs are weird because you can't just clone them onto another chain and like call it a day. You can do that you can bridge tokens and do all sorts of other things with, especially like protocols, real DeFi protocols and stuff. You can, we see Aave deploying on every new chain that's out there, which is really neat. But we can't really do that as an NFT protocol. We got to kind of pick a home. And I do think there's some ways we could go and enjoy some of the benefits of all the different new chains coming out. But that's going to be later down the line. First, we just need to get pick a home and get on there and start moving forward again. But one thing that excites me about Base, and this isn't necessarily Base specific, but just the fact that right now on Polygon, just because of the way we deployed the contracts back in 2021, the NFTs they just can't really be fully supported on these NFT marketplaces. Not that there's a lot of NFT trading volume on Polygon really compared to Base but obviously especially Ethereum. Neither of them really compare to Ethereum in terms of NFT trading volume. But Base is still more than Polygon. But at least we'll be visible. That's one thing we've always lacked, is like Aavegotchis just are not visible on these marketplaces because I guess the OpenSea API or like they don't support it, or it's just the way that the contract was deployed with two NFTs inside of it. So when we move to Base, we get a chance to fix that. And basically, people might start seeing Aavegotchis pop up on, or wearables pop up on OpenSea or Magic Eden again, which I think, any visibility for the brand is going to be helpful.
Yeah, brand awareness always is going to increase, just seeing Gotchis able to trade on OpenSea, Magic Eden, and be promoted by Base. K2's asked twice, so I think a big crux of all this that is the timing, right? And so I think the short answer is it can move as fast as the DAO moves, right? Like, this is migration work that we've done to prep and upgrade the bazaar, things like that, that's already happening, whether it goes to Geist or to base. So we're
Yeah.
very far along in a lot of that work. And we want to move fast with this. So it's not like,
Yeah, I
let's see
think
it. It's already
we're
February.
gonna.
So
I mean, mentally, I have a goal of having everything deployed onto base by 420. I think that's very doable, and it would be a fun day to kickstart Aavegotchi on base. By the time the core prop finishes, it will be in like late to probably about late March. By the time we finish up discussion, create the sig prop, create the core prop, and yeah, so sometime in March we might be able to go earlier than 420, but I do like dates like that. So while that's happening, Pixelcraft team, as Jesse alluded to, we're also working on Gotchi Guardians will have its WebGL release early, I think just one week from today. Basically, the team's been working really hard on that to prep it for browser. So we'll finally be able to play Gotchi Guardians in the browser, and then start building a player base for Gotchi Guardians, and then heading into the June date that he just mentioned there. Assuming this partnership does go through, I think it will. They really love the game. They love Slama. They love our project. We should be on a certain handheld device that if you guys were here for that call with Andromeda, you'll know that it could be a big deal. The game is very fit for mobile, and yeah, so that in June we'll be having probably a big release for Gotchi Guardians as well, and that could be a very big event if things go in our favor. We're all settled, and Gotchi Guardians is going live on a big platform like that one. Could be really big. Like, we might get 100,000 players. We might get depends on how much influence these guys have. Like, they're super well connected with a bunch of the execs. So I think that I'm really excited for that, and we're going to do a lot of prep for that. At the same time, we're also working on farming release is going to come out soon, just to get that done, wrap up farming, be able to turn off Gotchiverse 2D because it's quite expensive to keep that going. We're trying to cut costs here, have been for a while, so that's going to turn off. And then the next thing the team's working on is GBS. Whatever, we've got a pretty solid plan for that. We can talk a little bit about the plan for GBS, kind of give an executive summary if you guys want. And so that'll be coming out. We'll have a proof of concept of that. I think it looks like it's like March, late March is probably when that's going to come. And
yeah, I'd love
at
to
the
see
same time, just to finish this thought, at the same time, we're also, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I mean, these GIFs are coming out. The GIFs are we're just starting this campaign, but I mean, already I think the GIFs are making a little impact. We're gonna have some numbers and start showing off more next week. But personally, I'm loving the GIFs. I think they give us so much potential for getting like impressions on the timeline and just visibility for the brand. So these are just the beginning of the GIF iceberg. So much more coming with that. We have whole stockpile of these GIFs, but that's going to be part of our strategy as well over the next few quarters, growing the impressions, growing the Giphy brand, getting to 1 million, 10 million, 100 million impressions on these GIFs. And it's going to take some work, but that's also going to be a big positive for the brand. So that's basically, I mean, there's a lot of other things that are going to be happening over the next 2 quarters. Those are some of the highlights.
Yeah. So like, let's get our brand, instead of trying to build up our own L3, It's just like what's our strengths? We had to really step back and be like, our strengths is the IP. We do have some games, especially Guardians, that's like a mature, legit game. We got to find a way to get that to market and do it justice. Those are things that made sense. They made the case for base. And then also like very happy to report we're making progress on Guardians go to market. And I'm really excited for where that's going to go. So they could play really nice with each other. Like we could be the ones that crack that, have a hit with playing an audience that's outside of crypto, and then have like GBS would be like, oh, now I get to shoot at the licks with a gun, and they're gonna pay me on this leaderboard. Like the idea is we've got as a community these player rewards that have never been touched for Gotchiverse, and they're exclusively Gotchiverse player rewards. This is probably the year we got to use them, right? This is the time. So let's put them in front of the base audience. We could attract a large number of new players into the ecosystem just from base, but also from this trad video gaming Guardians audience too. So kind of a double funnel. Hardcore's mentioning B3. I don't know about forcing it. We have good relations with B3.
Honestly,
Forced
we
it.
didn't. We knew that Daryl and his team were working on gaming on base, but actually, it was the timing was interesting. Like we weren't really like our games are not really besides Reckless ready to be listed. Like they're almost ready, but we hadn't really communicated with the B3 team until just a week or two ago. But we've been thinking about this way longer than that. It was nice to see that actually happening. It's almost like a sign. Like as we're thinking about this, he's announcing B3, Coinbase is listing Ghost. We're like, oh man, like this is actually like there's this feeling like when you start getting on the right path, like things start happening in your favor. Kind of feels like that in some way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, Dan, totally agree with what you said. We took it more as like a sign. We were like, oh, the stuff Daryl's working on is finally seeing daylight. It actually looks pretty cool. And it's right at the same time we're drafting this proposal. So
Yeah.
this proposal didn't come out overnight. This is like something we've been once those layoffs happen, right? It was like, all right, we have to really it's also we alluded to it there, like there's some product decisions that go with that. So now it's like we know Geist just isn't going to work out the way we want, not this cycle. It's not that we need that for a large player base. It just doesn't justify it right now. That said, I was very pleased to see B3, and it's a sign. One of our hesitancies with base, always when we considered going all in with them was they're not really a gaming chain. And we spent, you go over to DAP Radar, look at the stats. Like base does have a couple of projects on those lists competing with the other games, but the fact that B3 is getting pushed in a day one listing on Coinbase, and it's going to be something we can list a WebGL version of Guardians on. So it's another venue to put our brand in front of the base audience. Just perfect timing.
Yeah, I think B3 is a really interesting product. I mean, it's funny that they are also focusing on the L3s as we're leaving our L3, but to each team their own. I mean, I'm sure it's a strategy. It might work better than for other teams. Like every gaming studio, every project's going to have something that works best for them. But they also have games on base as well. But like the whole platform is still on base, but it's B3 itself is a layer 3 on base. But I mean, the whole platform is centered on base, so it's going to bring a lot of attention to gaming on base.
Flames asked about the Coinbase quests. Yeah, that'll be part of the strategy. We'll revisit that. This whole base move is base centric. So, Q2 asked about the team. I think we've talked about before. Like, Realm team built the original Gotchiverse, SFA, now the 3D Gotchiverse. That team is larger than the Guardians team. I would say it did get some cuts this last year, but it was up around, I would say 10 to 12 people full time. Not all coders, it's designers, coders, back end, front end. So you put all that together. Right now, I think there's like half dozen, something like that. And then on Guardian's side, it's probably
it's
4 or 5.
Yeah, four coders for Guardians.
You got the concept artist, there's the animator, the rigger. There's a bunch of stuff. That's why that game's so beautiful. Cool thing is, the part of this like consolidation of the team too is something we've talked about internally. Is like we can't really justify having 2 separate teams right now. So we're basically merging the teams where they were a bit too siloed before, because they had totally different things to work on. Going forward, like the stuff that you guys are going to use in the SDK for the avatars and animations, those are things that whether it's Guardians team or Realm team building those, they're all going to share the same assets. So like for GBS, we're not going to use the old SFA liquidators. We're going to use the same licks from Guardians, the same licks you guys would have access to. So I think it's more lean. It unifies the brand identity, and we have less redundancy across the 2 teams, aka less cost.
Yeah, fewer meetings, more just getting things done. I think we'll see a pickup in a couple like efficiency across the team. I think so I think it's just one of those situations where cutting actually increases efficiency.
Yeah, everybody wants to be busy right now. Well, the full ship version, we're getting that out for Guardians. I mean, in terms of WebGL, you'll be playing that next week. They're testing it right now, and knock on wood, everything's going as planned. That's scheduled to be live at ETH Denver. So we want to be at ETH Denver with both a WebGL version, browser-based version of Guardians, and farming. So the first version of farming, you guys should be able to be farming your parcels while ETH Denver is going on. So that's 2 things we're really pushing to get out in the next week or so.
As I think he's asking about, I guess GBS, and I do want to emphasize to everyone, like, this is it. We're gonna ship a proof of concept that has the core features of what we think is going to be fun for this game. It will be a proof of concept, and we want to get feedback and get a check with people. Like if we don't think it's going to be a market viable game, you're not enjoying it. Like most people didn't enjoy SFA, then like we won't continue putting resources into it. We do think that it's going to be a cool thing to align with the base community, because we have some pretty unique ideas about how to incorporate other communities into the game. So like when we go on the base, we don't just want to launch the Aavegotchi exactly as it is right now on Polygon. We'd like to bring something new to the table, something that might raise some eyebrows. So that's kind of what GBS is intended to be. It's going to be a new product. It won't be fully polished or feature complete, but should be if things, if we're able to develop it quickly enough and stay focused and keep the scope tight, hopefully have a fun little game loop that people on base can come over and go on to B3, play a few rounds, maybe earn a little ghost, a little crypto, and become familiar with the Aavegotchi IP. Maybe even buy some Aavegotchis.
we should talk a bit about GBS, Great Battle Simulator, because it's actually I don't think anybody here has seen like the fully fleshed out game loop, and maybe it's a little early, but I mean, might as well just share like what the heck it is when we refer to it. How, at least in its early iterations, it's what I like about it is it's the gameplay for Gotchiverse. So we don't have to read, like, everything's kind of there. It's going to go fast, I think, relatively speaking. We can put together a very early version of this game really quickly once farming's done. Like a couple of sprints and we'll have a proof of concept stood up. But the game loop that we want to test, I think is really compelling, really fun. It's like a cross between like an extraction shooter and a zombie survival game, and maybe another genre or two. But I think it really leans into like uh game features that will play on replayability and that PvE competitiveness you guys seem to enjoy from games like Dropped. So
I'll
I don't
just
know.
give
Dan,
a quick
whoa.
concept of I used to play a lot of Diablo 2. And one of my favorite parts of Diablo 2 was the cow level. If you guys ever played the cow level. So you go into the cow level and there's just like all these cows trying to kill you. And if you killed the king before you killed all the other cows, it would it was very punishing. It would like prevent you from ever being able to go into the cow level again. But it was really fun. It was like you're doing this run, you kill the king, get some really good loot. So no one's ever. I don't see a lot of people in crypto talking about Diablo. Everyone talks about RuneScape, but I mean, Diablo is a fantastic game. I think it's a great. It's kind of the inspiration for GBS and what we're going to do here. So the idea is that you will spawn. We're going to be using the same map or a portion of the map that you guys have already seen, the District 1 map. So it's already built, and we're just going to rearrange it a little bit. You'll spawn at the Great Portal. So we'll have a Great Portal, or you'll spawn at that point, but the Great Portal is going to be closed. It's going to spit you out, and then it's going to close. And you have a 10-minute timer. And you basically, the goal of the game is to kill as many licks as possible within that 10-minute timer. There's also there's going to be a lick king that is inside the Gotchi Palace. So similar to the cow level, it had like a little fortress. It'll be a random spot within the Gotchi Palace, and in order to get out, you first have to kill the Gotchi king, and you got to get back to the Great Portal before that 10-minute timer runs out. There's also going to be because Aavegotchis are very difficult to design games for. I mean, just gonna put that out there. It's not easy designing for these little MFers. Like, there's all these different wearables. It's fully pay to play, like pay to win. There's all sorts of weird combinations, and there's BRS. But we're gonna try to make it work with 3 different difficulties: normal, nightmare, and hell, just like the cow level. So there'll be different restrictions on like you won't be able to bring a mythical into a normal game. There's going to be a cap up to legendary. So that's something kind of interesting that we're going to try, which is different from what we did in SFA, which was like there was 8 different tiers. There's only three weight classes: normal, nightmare, and hell, and they'll each have their own leaderboards as well. You'll still be able to bring in potions and stuff from SFA, same there. But I think one of the things I'm most excited for is within the game itself. Like, we want this to be a kind of a degen experience, and so there's this idea of there's going to be a raffle that is in the proof of concept. It'll be static. It'll just be on the map in the same place it is every time. But in the alpha, we'll probably make it a little bit more random. But basically, what you can do is you can go up and find the raffle and bonk it. Basically, hit the raffle, and it's going to make all the liquidators in the map become harder. They're gonna have more HP. They're going to probably be faster. They're going to do more damage, and they're also going to give you more points. So as you're playing this game, you can. It's going to be solo mode at first, but we're going to get co-op mode. That'll be the next thing in the alpha that we work on. You and your buddy, you might be like, I think we can go harder. Like let's push the difficulty a little bit more and see how many licks we can kill. So there is, of course, a risk that you might go overboard and you might not be able to get home in time, and you won't be able to make it through, and you'd lose the game. So we're going to let you decide the difficulty of how hard you want it to be based on which gotcha you have and your skill level in the game. So that's going to be a really cool way to allow people that are better at the game to, push that difficulty envelope more than someone else. And that's gonna mix together with another kind of innovation that we want to try, which is something I've wanted to do for a while, but I think it'd be really fun. I don't think. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think anyone's done this so far. Actually, having the difficulty of the game be tied to the actual ghost token ticker price on the minute charts. So, like when you enter the game, you're basically longing or shorting the ghost token in terms of how hard you want the game to be. So if you go in and you're like, I think ghost is going to go up, then the game is you're gonna get more points when ghost goes up. But the liquidators also might get harder. So essentially, like you have this dynamic difficulty that you can choose, but you also have the ticker and the volatility of the ghost token that you're also trying to fight. And so that'll lead to a lot of like pretty interesting situations where you might increase the difficulty so high that you're like, oh shit, I can't actually kill all the licks in time. I'm not going to make it back. And then the token dumps or it pumps and you're like, oh hell yeah, like I can make it out now. So you're kind of a little bit at the whim of the market, but it's going to add like a nice little replayability and volatility to the game. Yeah, and the thing is, it doesn't have to just be ghost token. We can also reach out to other communities and be like, this week we're gonna feature base god token or other tokens on base, and allow their token to be an option for the ticker. So kind of a fun way to come on, make a little splash, and say, like Aavegotchi's bringing in something new to the table. We don't know if it's it's not. No one knows if it's going to be the best thing in the world. Like, is it going to do well or not? But I think it's going to be. It's something new. It's something fun, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring something novel that people haven't seen before. Degen Trader's dream, exactly. I mean, that's what it's all about these days. Like, there's so many tokens coming out, and I'm just like, how can we figure out how can we like create bonds with these communities that have these really passionate players without having to like work into their own tokenomics and stuff. But everyone's got a token. The tokens have volatility, so you just allow people to long or short their tokens basically without actually putting money up, but you're long and shorting the difficulty of match.
The more we realize like where this game can go for outreach, the more it was like, oh, we'd have conversations like, yeah, then they'll just need to build bridge some of their token over to Geist. It's like, man, why don't we just go do this on base? It's like gonna be a lot easier to connect with these communities.
I'm gonna check the comments here. I see Dr. Wagme. At this point, I don't even know if we should have the pay-to-play component where expensive wearables need to play the hardest mode. Let rarity RF be the mechanism to reward BRS and wearables. Yeah, I mean that's the angle that we've taken with Gotchi Guardians. That we are going to allow you to play with your Gotchi in the next actually upcoming version, but trying to micro balance every wearable and every permutation and all that is like I don't know if it's not impossible, but it's definitely like it's going to take a while. And with Gotchi Guardians, we're like it's always been, let's simplify, let's just make it an IP based game that people can dig, and like it's like a more simple mobile game. But at the same time, I think it is fun to have, like, we want to embrace the wearables and actually bring value to the assets at the same time. So that's GBS is going to lean more on the more crypto extreme side.
I think I said this many times for the last year, but I think that for game devs out there and for ourselves too, you don't have to do everything. Like, we don't have to do every trait has a meaning for this game. It's like game by game. So Guardians is one example. We're just going with the skins, at least for now. And with GBS, yeah, we're trying to do all the balancing because we put that work in with SFA, and it is in a decent spot.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at other games coming out and you're like, oh, this is great, but I just don't know what to do with energy or, big brain, small brain. Well, maybe it's just forget about it. Don't use that part. Just use kinship, or just use whatever other on-chain metric makes sense for your game, and not try to be everything for everybody on every single game. So that takes a lot of pressure off, and you can just use the pieces that make sense for what you're trying to build.
Yeah, I think the 3 tiers, though, we're going to give it one more shot. Like, I think that the 3 difficulty tiers could work. But yeah, if like, we've tried multiple times already to with SFA and the 8 tiers and the different BRS categories. Like, obviously we didn't have a huge player base for that, so didn't really get all the data. But if like the gotchis and their wearables and the stats really do end up like being a hindrance to adoption, we are going to have to make a decision. Say, well, do we want to respect and implement the assets as in a deep way, or do we just want to figure out like a loop that's going to make money for us in the community and just stick with that? Personally, I still would like to have real utility in game for the wearables, and we've done all the work for SFA to some extent. So that's why it's kind of proof of concept. If we make it and still not fun, or if it's like can't get the wearables that you want and it's a big mess, then yeah, we'll go back to the drawing board. We're gonna have to. Wearables should have been the first thing done. I don't know what you mean. Like, we did the wearables for SFA already. Each of them we've got the different guns, the grenades, all that is kind of done. So we're just going to use that for GBS. But yeah, I think it should be pretty exciting. And team is. Yeah, go ahead.
I really like just the replayability part and the leverage. Somebody mentioned leverage. You kind of get this expression of leverage by bonking the raffle, or the first version won't probably have the API tied to the token price, the minute candles, but that like idea of like, man, all right, I just scored 600, got out of the portal fine, and I bonked the raffle 3 times. I'm gonna go in, find it earlier, bonk it 4 or 5 times, try to kill the king a little earlier. I think I can hit 700-800 this run.
Yeah.
And so it seems like a really good game loop. And yeah, the deeper part is like, okay, do the wearables balance everything? But yeah, let's not obsess over the wearables. If we get down and you guys play the proof of concept, you're like, the game loop's fun, just everything's balanced out of whack. We'll hear that feedback and we'll address it in real time. So
yeah,
very excited to see how it plays out in that front. But the game loop itself has to be the fun foundation. And on paper and like playing it in my head, I'm like, this will be a good use of the Gotchiverse. This is the Gotchiverse gameplay we've been needing. So
and we'll have proof of concept probably won't, but we will probably do an XP event. So you will we'll have a leaderboard for the proof of concept, and then alpha we'll start introducing. I mean, we really want to get to a point where you can play the game and there's loot that's dropping. Like when you kill the Lick King, there's actually a chance that you get stuff. There'll also be an entry fee on the game that will fund a prize pool. All the stuff that we outlined in the original GBS doc, we still would like to do. And now we're really starting to get serious about farming is basically done. So we're drawing out all the final design docs for the team to start planning sprints around this.
One last thought, maybe so obvious we all missed it, or maybe we're all thinking of it, but there is the lending market that will pick up, so if that OP sword, only works in one division, and there's just this sense like, oh, there's only 5 of them. Well, there's a lending market where maybe you can borrow it for a couple of runs and it doesn't break the bank. So could be a very interesting boost for the lending markets.
Yeah, we're going to take one more crack at the wearables, and if it proves to be an intractable problem, we're like, this is game design hell, can't be done, then we'll figure out a way to simplify things.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's see how it goes. I mean, I think SFA played like pretty well. It's just there was other issues with the game.
Yeah, by the end, it wasn't really the wearables that were the issue. It was like the player base didn't justify. You couldn't find a match across 8 divisions with the player base we had. That was part of it. But yeah, we're running into Dow hour here, so
Seabot, we need this gift, sir.
Business.